Blog Talk Radio.
Alternative facts.
The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government. At 12:07 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, numerous unidentified objects of unknown intent and unknown origin were detected at high altitudes over multiple locations of Earth's outer space by the National Radio Astronomy Observatory, and these objects are presumed to be some form of controlled aircraft. It is not known if more of these aircraft will arrive, or if they will attempt entering Earth's atmosphere. United States citizens are encouraged to monitor local media outlets, as more updates will follow as information becomes available. The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government. Attacks by the undead have been reported in several states across the country. The dead are rising from their graves and are attacking the human race. At this time, it is expected that more attacks of this nature will occur in several other states in the next few hours. The intent behind the attack is unknown at this time. It has been observed that a byte or exchange of fluids is a method of transmission. This is an extremely dangerous situation if they crave the taste of human flesh. It is not known whether this event will last for hours, days, or even longer. Stay calm, as authorities have been dispatched to deal with these creatures. An all-clear siren will be sounded when this situation is under control. Pacific Standard Time, nor is detected a long-range nuclear missile launching. This missile is believed to be headed in the direction of all residents within a 400-mile radius of this area should seek a fallout shelter immediately.
Welcome to Within the Chaos with your host, Rodney the Viking Shortridge. I want to give a big old shout out to the Facebook paranormal groups that allow us to post our shows on their pages and helping us to get the word out about all of our guests. If anyone would like to speak to Black Diamond Paranormal Society, BTEC, to discuss your paranormal questions or issues, go to our website at blackdiamondps.org or email blackdiamondps@yahoo.com. As always, our services are free.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. You can listen in by calling 516-387-1922, or you can go to the Vibe Radio Network website at blogtalkradio.com/Vibe Radio Network. For deep within the heart of the Appalachian Mountains, I'd like to welcome everyone and thank you for listening to Within the Chaos. My name is Rodney Shortridge, and I'll be your host tonight. First off, I'd like to give a shout out to my cousins up in Ohio, Jennifer and Joe Shortridge of 222 Paranormal. If you get a chance, check out their talk show. You can find them on Facebook under 222 Paranormal.
Have your devices just randomly stopped working? Are you having IT trouble? Not to worry, Mead's PC Repair Shop can help. We also offer IT support too, including website hosting. We are now also offering full event management services. To find out more, contact our friendly customer service team who will gladly help in any situation. Just call 276-880-8900, or if you prefer, you can stop by our shop at 1089 St. Clair Street, Oakwood, Virginia 24631 by appointment only, or by visiting the website at meadspcshop.com for more information. Thank you.
Phantom Fest 2019 is hosted and sponsored by Black Diamond Paranormal Society, Blog Talk Radio within the Chaos and Elk Garden School Community Ministry. The Phantom Fest is geared for the like-minded and enthusiasts and researchers in the fields of the paranormal, UFOs, cryptozoology, comics, horror films, gamers, cosplay, metaphysical, spiritual, artists, authors, ancient civilizations, tattoo artists, unexplained mysteries, superheroes, FX horror artists, steampunk, costume contest, sci-fi and so much more. The fest offers a unique and interesting outlook on the abnormal. The Phantom Fest will be held on November 2nd, 2019 at the Russell County Conference Center 139, Highland Drive, Lebanon, Virginia. Starting at 10 a.m. and going to 6 p.m. Tickets are $7 per person, ages 0 to 6 are free. Or tickets can be reduced to $5 per person with 2 non-perishable food items, to be donated to the Elk Garden School Community Ministry to help families during the Thanksgiving season. Any non-perishable food donations will be happily received. Also, we will have a free costume contest for all ages. Guest speakers, returning this year, Bill and Chris Reap of Reap Investigations, Giant researcher Heather Arnold. New to this year's Phantom Fest guest speakers, Dave Spinks, Ron Whitehead, Jake Fife, Chad Zumwalt and Whitney Benson, Amy Green, Barry Gaunt, Cosplay Bridget Baker, CNC Paranormal Investigations, Dennis Estlock, Geo-Origis Girls Heather Taylor and Micah Taylor, Haunted MD Donald Molnar, Lucky Belcamino, Michelle Wagner, and Rebecca Smoot. Special appearances by Cosplay Bridget Baker, Martial Arts Christian Yaya Thompson and Token Nihilist Cosplay, Arthur Stump, Grace and Lehman, Raphael Bertiz and the Whitebill Ghostbusters. Find us on Facebook Phantom Fest, www.facebook.com/PhantomFest. Our website, www.phantomfest.org. Our email, phantomfest1@yahoo.com. For more information, please contact Rodney Shortridge at 276-970-1456 or Josh Mead at 276-880-8900 extension 1259.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm glad everybody has decided to chime in tonight and listen to the show. I got some good news. We finally got some rain, and believe me, it wasn't enough, but it's a start. And it's actually cooled down. It went from the 80s and 90s, now we're down into the 70s. So, yes, bring on the fall. Just keep the winter back. I don't like the winter. But anyway, let me go ahead and tell you all about who our special guest is tonight. His name is Jason Gleaves. He's a ex-Royal Air Force. He served time during the British with the British Aerospace Airbus division. He is also a ufologist, researcher, and author of UFO Photo and Ufology Umbrella. So I'm going to hurry and get him on because he's calling from across the pond, and I know it's like early there. Hello, Jason, and thank you for joining us tonight. I hope you can hear me.
Hi, I can hear you loud and clear. How do I sound there?
Oh, you sound great, sir. Sound great.
Oh, that's good. That's good. It's nice and early here.
Yeah, that's what I was telling her. It's like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I got my coffee with me.
That's good. I know most of the other people that I've interviewed, it's from the UK or Ireland and stuff. they all fussed at me. It's like, my gosh, why do you always get me up so early? Sorry. That's the time of the show. I can't help it. Well, Jason, I'll just get right into it. Could you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and your experience with the Royal Air Force and the British Airbus, and what decided or what got you into researching a UFO phenomenon? Did your past jobs have anything to do with that?
Yeah, it did really. Just start at the beginning, really. I had a UFO sighting with my sister when I was 7 years old in Liverpool, in the UK here, and we both saw a disc-shaped object outside our bedroom window when we were playing. This thing was illuminated bright, and then it took off at high velocity. And then we carried on playing like nothing had happened. I'd actually forgotten about the incident that had happened between us, only till later on, many years later, when my sister reminded me of the sighting we had, and it sort of slowly came back. And then moving on, really, I've always been interested in UFOs and ufology, that side of it, with science fiction and Arthur C. Clarke. I used to watch all of his TV shows he had on the TV here in the UK, and he's bought the magazines, everything, all the way coming up through my childhood, sort of led towards this sort of thing. And then I joined the Royal Air Force at 17. Did my travelling, did my trade training, everything like that. And I was involved in quite a large UFO sighting at RAF Cosford in the UK here. It's in March 1993, when a huge black triangular-shaped craft came down over the base. It was described at the time to be the size of a battleship, and it was seen and witnessed by on-duty RAF policemen, civilians and other personnel. And on that same evening, throughout the UK, other triangular-shaped crafts of similar description were seen throughout the UK by on-duty policemen and other members of the public. After the craft left RAF Cosford, it went on to another RAF base nearby called RAF Shawbury, where the on-duty air traffic controller in the early hours of the morning got a lock onto this similar shaped craft that was at RAF Cosford, and it was firing pencil like laser beams down towards the ground. And his impression was that it was looking for something around the area. And that led on to the next day when Nick Pope, ex-Ministry of Defence, X-Files, in Whitehall, UK, he came out and interviewed everybody who was involved, who saw the craft. So it's all there for everyone to see on the internet. I did write about it in my first book, UFO Photo, when Nick did actually write a good piece in there explaining the aftermath and the way he dealt with it. And then, obviously, when I'd left the Air Force, I went on to work at British Aerospace here in the UK, where I used to build the Airbus wings, passenger aircraft. So that's really a little bit about myself.
Okay. Well, you said that Nick Pope came out. What role does he play? I know he's a name that's really popular here in the States, especially in Europe, about the UFO cases. But what made his job so special for him to know so much about UFOs?
Well, he was actually working for the Ministry of Defence at the time in London at Whitehall, and his job was to categorise and investigate any UFO reports that would be given into the Ministry of Defence and investigate them to the best of his ability. So he'll go through the radar tracks, the weather phenomenon at the time, aircraft movements, all the usual sort of things. And again, because it was Royal Air Force related, this sighting in March 1993 at Cosford, it was his role to come out and investigate.
Oh, okay. Well, without giving too much away from your books, UFO Photo and the Ufology umbrella, what can you tell us, about your books, and why did you write them, and how can someone get a copy of your books?
Yeah, well, you can get a copy of the books via Amazon. You've got the first book I wrote a couple of years ago now, UFO Photo. It really stemmed from, I've got a Facebook page, UFO Only, with quite a large following on there, and a YouTube channel where I analyse photographs and basically look into the world of ufology in general. And the first book really came from that web page where I wanted to really put a book out there, sort of on a DIY early stage level of people getting into ufology, where they were asking the questions on how I actually analyse the photographs and what you need to look out for, and that sort of thing. And then the second book really was a follow-on from the first, where I went further again into ufology, where I tried to categorise the 7 separate categories of close encounters. Obviously, they go right through the range from sighting to abduction, to cattle mutilation. It goes right through the field of that.
Okay. Well, what is CE-127? I've seen that in your bio, and I wanted you to maybe explain it to everyone.
Yeah, well, a CE is really a shortened version of close encounter. So this was really brought into the fold really by Dr. Hynek, which I'm sure many of your listeners have heard of before, and he was brought in through the military to debunk the ufology subject, the best way he could. They've had different books that have come through. You got Project Sign, which was the early 40s, and then moving on to the 1949 round about that era, you got Project Grudge, and then you had Project Blue Book, where Dr. Hynek, like I said, he was brought in to debunk the ufology subject as such. And when he came in, really there was only CE1, CE2. And then later CE3 came in, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It was roughly around about the time when Steven Spielberg brought out the Hollywood movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where Dr. Hynek, he did actually have a cameo role in that movie as well. And it breaks down, but since then it's moved on to obviously further categories have been added to this. So, CE1 is basically it's a sighting in which one or more UFOs, aerial phenomenon, described as sources, and they're not attributed to no modern day tech. Again, if they see unexplained lights, and that's pretty much the most common sighting that people will see. CE2, where you move on to UFOs have been witnessed or seen, but there's no associated known or sometimes unknown phenomena that accompanies it. So again, you're taking one step further. So you're probably talking more like crop circles, terrain or landscape damage, scarred or mutilated animal, livestock, electronic or mechanical interference where people have said they've had, their car will cut out or, that type of thing. Catalepsy, which is a sort of trance state, and body seizures. So, it's generally an unnatural physical occurrence that will happen to somebody that's having this experience of such. And then CE3, which is, again, the close encounters of the third kind, which is a UFO, visually spotted or seen to further include a visual confirmation. So, you can actually see a saucer or, a UFO as such. Would you like me to carry on or?
Oh, yeah, you're fine, yeah.
Yeah. CE4, now this goes on now to the realm beyond Dr. Hynek. So he brought in 1, 2, and 3, and like I said, he was reluctant to bring 3 in. He thought 1 and 2 covered pretty much most everything, but they're pretty open-ended because you'll find a lot of sightings can be sort of attributed to probably one or more of these CE 1 to 7. So CE 4 anyway it's human abduction by an extraterrestrial being. So you've got different kinds of visitations where you're not actually taken on board a craft, but you're kept in the custody of an ET while still on Earth. So people have put that down as an out-of-body experience or something similar to that. Number 5, CE5, is a bilateral contact with an ET entity through some sort of audible form of communication. So telepathy, that type of thing, where they read your mind and, that time. And it can be initiated either by a human or an ET. So there's no real, it go either way. CE6 is a UFO or its inhabitants directly causing injury or death, which has been actually brought forward. There have been instances where downed UFOs have been retrieved and they've actually got body parts, human body parts on board. So it's slightly controversial. And probably the most controversial out of all of them is CE7. Which has only really come into the realm probably the later years, in which a human and an extraterrestrial mate, so sexual intercourse or artificial insemination to produce a hybrid being. So that's basically 1 to 7, and there's nothing to say that it couldn't go further, but it does cover quite a wide range within those 1 to 7.
Wow. Well, do you or have you experienced, other governments working together, or do they keep what information that they experience with the UFO sightings and any UFO experiences to themselves, or do you think they collaborate or not?
I think they probably do, interact with each other with what they know. But we certainly wouldn't know about it, and certainly members of the public wouldn't know. I mean, it's only now that the US, especially the Navy, the US Navy, are coming forward now, acknowledging, the Tic Tac UFO and the readings they've had and the data readings, and then obviously to the Stars Academy, which have brought that forward with Tom DeLonge and Hal Puthoff and Elizondo. So there has been talk about, I think Stephen Greer, Dr. Stephen Greer, had brought up in the past when he's been dealing with the French government, and they're highly involved in the contact side. I really do. Governments do talk, but again, we would probably never find that out.
Well, what is your thoughts on the RH blood types? I know I've read that some people think that that's possibly an alien type of blood that's mixed in with the human blood. What's your opinion about that?
I've not really gone into that side. I have sort of encountered it, and people have brought it up, and there are people who have really gone into depth on that side. But there's got to be something to it, because it's obviously all part of the DNA, and people have said whether it's ET, whether it's not. It's difficult to say.
Mm-hmm. Well, have you personally researched any UFO crash sites? And if so, what were your findings? And are there any other crash sites around the world that you'd like to investigate?
I'll always look into the older UFOs encounters and obviously the visual side, because that's basically what I like to do on my Facebook page and things, because I get people that contact me from all over the world with images and of craft and of ETs and interactions and things like that. And basically, I'll do the analyzing of images that they send. So, if you get a misidentification, somebody will send, a lot of the time you will get the misidentification of a bird or an aircraft or a weather phenomenon that's not a UFO, and you'll sort of have to break the news to them that that's what you really do believe it is after you've run through the process of analysing an image. But then there are really good cases out there where, I've got a good friend, he's become a good friend of mine now, Peter Maxwell Slattery, and we've got James Gilliland at the SETI Ranch near Mount Adams, and Peter's from Australia, so he runs ESETI Australia, and James Gilliland obviously runs ESETI US. And they're up there with the images and the footage that they send me of craft, orbs and beings, etc. It's a big UFO hotspot around that area, especially around that area in the US.
Okay. Well, what techniques do you use, and what are you using to analyze these photos?
Well, I've been using really the techniques I've always used, where I'll use it's a Photoshop really that I use, but it's not being used to actually change a photograph. It's being used with the filters and everything else that can enhance photographs, so you can invert them or filter them. You will obviously enlarge them, upscale them, and you can get more detail out of images if you can do that with different filters that can bring out more detail that you wouldn't normally see.
Well, have you used or investigated any of the photos that's come from like the space station or any of the moon landing or any of the Mars landings?
Yeah, I've done a few of those as well. I mean, I've gone in all different areas of ufology. That's really one way I actually look at ufology. Is it's like a huge umbrella, and it cascades off into quite a few different categories of abduction, sightings, ET races. It goes through the whole spectrum of ufology. I've actually found anomalies on the moon. Especially there was one with Apollo 12 where they were just about to land on the moon, and it's actually on my YouTube channel, one of the videos where they're actually just about to land, and again everyone's obviously looking at the landing, and anything I always look at the surroundings, not just the landing area, and it looked like I'd found it looked like an entrance with lights going down. If you go on the website, you can actually see that. It's quite a good video. Then there are others on Apollo 14 where there's a huge disc-shaped object on the horizon in one of the shots, and you can actually hear the astronauts actually questioning what this object was on the horizon. They couldn't say what it is, so that's another good one to look at. And the space station, again, there's lots of things happening up there when they go on their spacewalks, the astronauts. There's anomalies and orbs that are flying around them all the time, and again, they view them out through the cameras, etc. So there's an awful lot going on up there than we actually, more than we think anyway.
Well, have you studied the LA UFO photograph that was taken during World War II?
Yeah, the battle over Los Angeles, 1942. I did actually cover that case in my first book because, again, that was an image I've been brought up on, just like quite a few of the other images through Ufology. And again, it was 1942 over Los Angeles. I think the US had only been in the Second World War about 3 months. And the artillery opened up on this huge object that came over the city early hours. And they fired over, I think it was 1,400 shells, anti-aircraft shells at this thing, and didn't bring it down. Again, I think the Americans thought at the time it was either the Japanese or the German Luftwaffe with them just coming into the war. So they were on high alert at the time. And when I actually analysed this image, I got I always try to ask or try to find the original image for any analysing thing that I do on image analysis, because the more detailed the image, the more original it is, the more details you can get out of that image itself. But this one, again, like I said, if you look in the book, you can see where I've actually brought the detail out that's never been seen before, and it's quite a detailed craft of some description. It certainly doesn't look like anything that was around at the time, especially in any of the air forces at the time, or a weather balloon or anything else. And again, you've got to look at the artillery that they fired at this thing, and it didn't bring it down. It just went on its merry way.
Wow. Well, on different times of the year, or maybe throughout the years, is there a higher increase or a lower increase of UFO sightings during certain parts of the world, or anything like that shows some type of pattern?
I wouldn't say so. I would say people have said now, with more people having mobile phones with cameras, really good cameras, and especially now the iPhones and things of today, the cameras have got 4K high definition cameras on. So, people are going to start getting better images than they've ever gone before, especially going back to the old 35mm cameras, etc. With different craft, they seem to have gone through different decades of shapes and sizes and things like that. You've always had your disc-shaped craft. You've certainly got the elongated, cylindrical shaped, cigar, people have called them. And again, more recently, you've got more of the orb-shaped craft that seem to be around the chemtrails, that type of thing. But again, you've got again, where craft are disappearing into mists or possibly cloaking, some sort of cloaking technology being used. So I think it's really gone through decades where people have said they've seen certain craft, and then they go on and see triangular-shaped craft, in the 90s, and, like I said, orbs now.
Well, have you studied any photos of animal mutilations, or is it just strictly UFOs?
It's mainly UFOs. I've looked into it. There are people in ufology worldwide who look into the animal mutilation side. A good friend of mine here in the UK, Paul Sinclair, and Robert Hulse and David Clayton, to name a few people. I think Linda Moulton Howe in the States, she's done a lot with animal mutilations. I haven't personally, I've looked into it, but I haven't covered it as much as I do with the craft side of it. I think it's linked in some way to, abductions and things like that. It's a very deep, disturbing side of ufology that, it does need the research into it. But there are only certain people, I think, that really, want to go down that road of researching into it.
Okay. Well, how many crash sites have you investigated? The photographic evidence.
Like I said, there's pictures that have been sent from all over the world by people in Brazil and Mexico, Argentina. It's really the footage that I actually analyze for people, and most people within ufology have probably approached me at some point to analyze some sort of imagery for them. Like I say, I do a lot for James Gilliland and Peter Maxwell Slattery. And again, I get people who want to be named. They'll have their name put forward to their sightings or their pictures and what I've analysed. And then again, there are people who don't want the fame to that side of it. They'd rather just know what they've seen or try to find out what they've seen, but they don't want the fame to, or to have their names revealed in any way. It's I get quite a backlog of people emailing me, and I try to keep up with it all the time. Always busy.
Oh, I bet. Well, what was the most interesting photo that you have studied?
Probably, it's a piece of footage that I analysed, and I actually put it in the first book, UFO Photo. And it was a civilian Argentinian pilot, and it was in 2014 where I first came across it while researching the book. He'd actually seen UFOs before, this pilot, but he never took a camera up with him to capture them. He'd just seen them, and reported them at the time. And he was flying his aircraft about 5,000 or 10,000 feet in a straight direction. You can see it was taken on his mobile phone, the film footage, and it's surprisingly clear footage for the time. It's not like nowadays where the cameras are in 4K or 1080 HD high definition. So anyway, you can see the front of his aircraft, you can see the propeller, and he's looking out the front of his cockpit, and you can see the clouds very clear, and he's basically buzzed by two UFOs. A large cylindrical shaped craft buzzes right in front of his aircraft, and then it's followed by a smaller aircraft, and then he's still filming forwards, which I wish he'd actually turned. He doesn't. He's still flying his aircraft, and the two UFOs come around in a figure of 8 and then back and buzz his aircraft again. And the footage, you can actually see the footage on my YouTube channel. It's on there. But I've actually done a piece of footage filming for it. It's going to be on Paranormal Caught on Camera, which is, I think it's aired in the States. But it'll be over in the UK as well. I think it's on the first series, the first episode of the second series. So.
Okay. Well, what's the strength? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that's probably the one of my favourites. If you have to put a favourite down, one of the favourites.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's the strangest video or photograph that you've studied?
There's so many of them. One of the strangest, I would probably say, was with a lot of UFOs, you get people have described seeing a substance that is left behind by UFOs when they take off at high velocity or whatever they're going to do. They leave this substance, and it's described as angel hair. That's what they call it, and it looks like a very fine spider's web, but it disperses very quickly, and it's very difficult to analyze because, again, like I said, it disperses very quickly after the UFOs left. And when I've actually looked into it, part of the second book about the angel hair, there was a group of scientists that did actually manage to analyze traces that were left during the sighting. And one of the actual things one of the substances that was described being in this angel hair was a substance called boron. And boron now, it's quite a rare thing, but it's used to actually protect and shield against nuclear reactors. So it's just one thing that if you say UFOs are extraterrestrial or man-made, it's just one thing. Maybe it's more towards a man-made object rather than extraterrestrial craft, with it being, a substance that's used. Whether an ET would use a nuclear reactor on a craft or not, I don't know. But, it's just one interesting part that I found was quite a weird part, but interesting.
Well, with the photos that you analyzed, would you think that any of these were man-made, that this is maybe our military or government instead of something extraterrestrial?
Yeah, definitely. I would say probably a good 80% are probably some secret covert or man-made craft. And I've always said that when this type of craft is seen by somebody, a member of the public, and they report it as a UFO, that's the perfect cover story for the military, because they don't have to explain away what they've actually got in their, infantry of aircraft.
Well, that's true. Well, have you had anyone that has sent you any photos or video that may think that it was something spiritual or angelic? Because I know I've read where some people have, in an area have seen a UFO, while others have said that they've seen something angelic.
Yeah. Whether that comes into a religious side, I don't know. I get people sending me photographs of ETs, all different types. And some of the most amazing images are the orbs, which now people are actually starting to come forward and actually you can see they're manifesting themselves into humanoid figures. They're quite amazing. And I suppose if you're from a religious background or of that nature, you would actually put something down to, that sort of a manner of, entity that is being seen. You could actually relate that to a religious background. I don't know. But they are pretty amazing. And again, I keep referring back to Peter Maxwell Slattery, but I do think a lot of his work are probably in the top 1% in the world of images that I analyse. And there was one where he actually photographed a being at the ranch, at the Isetti Ranch, this year. It was 2019. And they had been having interactions with this being, Guan Yin, I think they're called her, and she actually manifested herself at the end of his bed. And if you go onto his website and have a look at his images and everything, it's all there that we analysed for him, and it's pretty amazing.
Are you talking about Skinwalker Ranch?
No, that's another ranch again. There's an awful lot happening there as well, but this is the Isetti Ranch at Mount Adams, which James Gilliland's ranch.
Oh, okay.
It's a huge UFO hotspot there.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check that out. Well, also in your photos, you say that you captured, or other people have captured ETs. What is the are they all the same, or are they different? Is it a common type of ET?
No, the images I've personally analysed are the orb beings that are manifesting themselves, and there's one that has actually got the facial features of a lion that are actually coming through. And if you actually look at the images are all there on my webpage, UF Only and everything, you can see them all. Somebody actually photographed it. I think it was in Mexico City. And this one, it's a tall, perfect humanoid figure, but it's all made up of orbs, and it's sort of translucent. You can see through, and like I said, the facial features are feline, lioness type of facial features. And again, I've been told that through my research that this is the sort of being that is from the Sirius star system. So that that it's an interesting one. Then there are others where there are orbs in humanoid forms floating in the air, with the orbs. And again, you get light beings as well, where they're made up just of light. But I would say to anybody to go and check out the SETI web pages and all everything related, because the images and the beings and the craft and everything that has happened and still happening there, and people go there from all over the world to see UFOs, and they never seem to fail. They'll be out, and you'll see orbs, craft that come over, and they power up. Where what I mean by power up is they'll come in and interact with the people on the ground, and they go really bright, but not bright enough that you can't look at the craft, but it's some form of communication going on there.
Wow. Well, you said 80% are man-made, the other 20%. Why do you think they're coming here? I mean, in your opinion, why do you think after all these, I guess, centuries or eons that they keep coming back? I guess, what's your opinion?
Yeah, well, there's all different theories too, and again, where people are having interactions with ETs and being told that they're coming here for certain reasons of DNA, hybrid beings trying to save their own civilizations or races through a breeding program. And again, I don't think there are races that never actually left. They live underground. They've got bases in the oceans. Like I said, at Mount Adams and Mount Shasta and those sort of places where that they live within the mountain ranges itself. And again, there's probably races that visit the Earth and look at the Earth like a zoo. They'll just come and look at us and just go on their merry way. There are lots of reasons. I mean, I really do believe that they didn't actually leave. They've always been here. They've always walked amongst us, as we say.
Well, that's a good point. Well, as far as any video evidence, do you get any, well, video and photo, do you get any from governments, or is it just from just the local citizens that are capturing what they see?
Yeah, you get people that have videoed aircraft, and then you'll get orbs or other craft that have been captured within that photograph. I mean, I've got a good video that I was sent a few years back, and it's actually it was taken in the UK. I can't remember which location in the UK, but it was somebody on the ground, and they were looking up, and they saw 3 fighter jets that were quite high up, probably over 10,000 feet up. And you can see the 3 fighter jets put their afterburners on, and they're actually following an orb-shaped craft, a disc-shaped craft. And this object is keeping just ahead of there are 3 fighter jets. One actually gives up quite soon after they start to interact with this disc, but there are 2 fighter jets, and you can't actually tell what they are, but I do know that they're on full afterburners, and they're following this orb or disc shape, which is just ahead of them the entire time, and it's as if it's teasing with them, and that actual object hasn't got no vapor trails, nothing, coming off it at all. And then you see one jet give up the chase, and then you see the other aircraft give up the chase, and then this UFO disappears out of sight. So that's probably like a civilian military piece of footage that I analysed, and that's quite a good one.
Mm. Well, you described something I kind of experienced myself back in late 90s. I used to drive truck cross country, and in Arizona, one night I seen a big fireball. It was hot ass. And then I seen two fighter jets following right behind it with the afterburners on. The red fireball took a hard right, and I guess that right was so hard that it tugged that the jets had to go. You could tell where they turned, and you could barely see the light before they came back. So
wow!
I was like, holy shit! It was an experience for. But I can understand where a lot of people, because like I said, I've seen a lot of things when I was out on the road. I've seen it one other time. Me and a guy was coming through Oklahoma, and there was like a green light fire. I at first I thought it was a meteor, but the way it just kept going straight and then shot straight up, I'm like, I told a guy on the CV, I'm like, I don't think meteors fall that way. I don't think they fall straight
No.
up. I've never seen that happen before. Wow. He's like, well, what do we do? We just keep driving, there ain't nothing we can do.
Yeah. It goes down as a story that you can tell that it's a shame you didn't have a camera or anything with you, but a lot of people at the time don't actually, even if they had a camera with them, they don't actually remember to use the camera because they're actually watching what's happening to them or the experience.
That's a great point, because I've been in situations like I just described where I'm just so amazed at watching what I'm seeing to even think about a camera.
Yeah.
How do these
And I've also heard of other people that have had the camera and a thought has been put in their head not to take a photograph. So, you know, that there are different things that happen. You know that I think it was a friend of mine here who's had a lot of experiences himself, and he gives a lot of talks. Philip Kinsella, and he got his brother Ronald Kinsella. And again, I think he said, I've actually analysed a sighting that'll be in his new books coming out this year, I think. But again, he was told the same thing. He had a camera, and he said he didn't want to take a photograph of it.
Wow. I'll tell you, with me, I just didn't even think about it. And I always kept a camera on me when I drove a truck. Well, one, because you have to, but never even thought about it. Well, what about, I know this is kind of a stretch, but I know I've talked to other people and read some reports where people talk about seeing like Bigfoot during or after a UFO sighting. Do you think that's possible, and if they have any connection?
Yeah, I do. I believe Bigfoot's the elusive to see. People do see them. People, have multiple people have seen or had encounters with Bigfoots. And I believe that a interdimensional type of creature, whether you say a creature or not. Again, I relate back to the SETI Ranch. They have sightings of Bigfoot all the time at the ranch. Interactions where they even play around with the Bigfoot. They leave apples and all kinds for them. It's one of those weird paranormal-y type of things where I think it's all interacted in with ufology. It's not just paranormally side. And again, I even go down the road of the ghost type of things. Certain ghosts that people have seen or reported. Again, I've also had photographs that I've analysed of ETs, and they're part visual. They're manifesting themselves in some sort of way, and that they could, at the time, they could come across as a ghostly apparition or something like that. Quite easily.
Well, see, I investigate the paranormal, and I have for over 11 years now. And me and a couple other people in the group have experienced different things, different locations, and I agree. I think that the paranormal, the UFO, the crypto, all of it somehow is integrated with each other, and I can't figure it out. But we've been on investigations where we've heard mechanical. We're walking in a field, but it sounds like we're walking in a huge hangar, walking across a catwalk for about 12, 15 seconds, and no one's. Me and the other guy didn't have no experience of anything going on, but it sounded like we went through some type of portal or time shift or something. There's been times that I've heard things on top of the roof, and go out there and look, and there's nothing on the roof. And check the house, and I search it over, nothing. Go back in, and it sounds like somebody's running across the roof. So, I do. I think I think it's all connected, and I don't know how.
I really do. And also I think it's also linked. A lot of the sightings, people who take photographs. But say they're taking it of a scenery where they're on holiday or vacation somewhere, a nice beautiful scenery, mountain range or something, and then they get home and there's a UFO on their photograph, and quite often, or most of the time, the person says,
"Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
You okay?" And the person actually says that they didn't see the UFO at the time, but when they later viewed the photograph, there's a UFO in the photograph. And again, I put that down to frequencies. I think it's all linked with the frequency side, where a good way to explain it, there are thousands of radio waves and frequencies being banded around you all the time. And just think of yourself as a radio, and you're tuning into just one frequency. I think, you're like the radio tuning into that one frequency with the UFO. They're on certain frequencies. Some people can see them, some people can't see them. And again, that's why they say they didn't see anything when they took the photograph and only saw it later on the actual photograph when they viewed it.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I do think, and then also with the frequency side, really, you can go down the road. There are a lot of musicians that actually come out and say they have UFO sightings or experiences. And again, I think it's to do with the frequency, the way they can read music. They're on a different frequency to other people that can see and hear things.
Wow. Well, I agree with that. I do think that's true, and I think also that there's some type of, whether it's dimensional or some type of stellar time warp or something. I do think that there's a lot of things that we don't know about. Like I told a lot of people that work with me, I told them, I said, we don't understand what we're really seeing or hearing. They may be seeing and hearing us the same way. This may not be spirits. This may be actually people that separate through some type of time and space displacement that they're seeing us as ghosts.
Yeah, and all to do with the frequency side. A lot of people actually come forward, myself included, where you get the ringing in your ears. That could be a medical term, tinnitus, that type of thing. But also, when people have sightings of UFOs, they say they hear this ring. They get the ringing in their ears on a certain frequency. Again, that's. I think that's all linked as well.
Wow. Well, what that you may know of, what has been reported as the largest crowd eyewitness sighting to a UFO, and what was the location of the sighting?
Well, it's probably the one we discussed earlier on, the Los Angeles Battle of Los Angeles. That was seen by, I think it was over 20,000 people, if not more. And then you can also say the Phoenix Lights. That was seen by an awful lot of people and witnessed. Really, the city sightings are probably the biggest people involved. I would say those two, and off the top of my head, yeah.
Oh wow, that's good. Well, what was so spectacular, and was there any photos taken of the unexplained lights that happened in UK in 1918?
The Cosford. Are you talking about the Cosford, RAF Cosford, yes, or the Rendlesham Forest? That was a big UFO sighting here.
The Red Forest, wasn't that more like in the 60s?
No, that was in the 80s, early 80s. At Rendlesham Forest.
One I'm talking about 1980.
Yeah, you're probably referring to Colonel Holt and Woodbridge. Yeah, that was Rendlesham Forest. Well, Rendlesham Forest is the forest in between the two bases there. And again, last year I was quite privileged to meet Colonel Holt when he came over to the UK for a UFO conference here, the Outer Limits magazine conference, and he gave a great speech, and he went through a detailed speech of what happened that night and the way it was all went about and how the security guards dealt with it, and what he still basically doesn't know what the craft was at the time. And I can remember reading about it in the national newspapers here. It was actually published. He had a big spread on it, a UFO sighting. So yeah. And then you've got the obviously the US guards, Air Force guards that went out to the site of this craft that came down. So, but I've also got a friend down at Rendlesham who lives not far from Rendlesham, Derek Savory, and he goes out with quite a few friends because there are other things that happen in Rendlesham Forest where they've seen entities and mists of light with animal figures in, like dragons and bears and all kinds of things. So it's a real interesting place to go to.
Wow. It sounds like it. Sounds fascinating. Well, is there any strong evidence of any UFO sightings in the past, as far as like cave art or even any ancient manuscript that you may know of or have studied?
Yeah, well, there's one I actually put in the book where it's depicted on like a manuscript. It's in the Cairo Museum in Egypt, and it shows a scene from obviously Egypt itself, and on the back it shows the Sphinx in its original form, the way they depicted it, and on the back of the Sphinx you can actually see a UFO form on the back, raised on the back, and you can actually see the 3 tripod legs and everything of the UFO. And also King Tut's dagger. I did write about that in the book, where they actually analysed the dagger that was found on the body of the young king, and that was actually part meteorite. It was made up of meteorite elements within the dagger itself. So it goes back a long way, and again you can look at statues and other things that have been depicted, Costa Rica, the Mayans, and they've got obviously statues and figurines of UFO disc-shaped craft, and they're blatantly craft that you can see on there. So you go back to a lot of the ancient history. There's an awful lot of things there to look up. People can look for themselves.
Well, what's your thoughts on Area 51? Have you analyzed any photos from that area?
Only what people have actually published themselves, but again, at a UFO conference here in the UK, Awakening in Manchester, David Adair spoke at the conference, again with many other speakers, Richard Dolan and Steve Merrer, and Mike Barra. There was quite a few, Linda Moulton Howe, but David Adair was actually he actually worked in Area 51 on propulsion, and he was telling us about where he was taken there as a 15-year-old to repair a downed UFO engine that they had and they couldn't figure out. And he was taken into the hangar, one of the hangars at Area 51, but it wasn't called Area 51 then when he was taken there. And he said he went down in a lift. So everything there is underground, if they've got anything there. And again, you've got whether Area 51 is now a cover place for S4, is it, that's further up, and other places where they've probably got, UFOs and things like that, downed craft.
What have you had any photos or any videos of maybe any type of attacks from a UFO?
Not personally, no. I've never seen anything that's been attacked or anything like that. But if you go back to the C5, I think it's C6, where I explained where there's UFO or its inhabitants directly causing injury or death. There's a great researcher over here in the UK, Richard D. Hall. He has a web page, Rich Planet. I've seen Richard talk a few times in lectures and things like that. And one of his cases he actually covered a few years back was about soldiers who have been involved in recovering UFOs, downed UFOs. And again, like I said before, where they'd actually found human body parts on the craft that they recovered, which was quite alarming to them, and it must have been alarming to the authorities as well when they kept that pretty quiet, obviously. But actually, videos of or footage, photographs, of anything attacking, I've never actually seen anything like that.
Well, I know we discussed a little bit earlier about the photos of NASA and the astronauts that they took on the space station. And when I mentioned a little bit about the moon, but there's some photos out there of some type of lights in the background during the moon landing. And also, NASA has photos of, looks like, structures on the moon. Have you studied any of those? And if so, what did you determine?
I've seen photographs of structures, strange towers. I've actually got one on my website where it was taken of the capsule where the lunar lander was actually about to redock with the capsule that was orbiting round the moon itself. And you could see the moon in the background. And they're quite high detail pictures. But one of them, you can actually see a dome shaped on the moon. And there's actually structures within that dome. You can see towers and buildings. So, I'm sure, pretty much sure that there are bases on the moon, within the moon itself, probably. Again, they go back to when NASA actually flew their part of their spacecraft rocket into the moon, and they said it rang like a bell, which obviously means it's hollow. So I think it'll all come out in the wash. It'll be one of those things later on when, disclosure does come, and I do believe it will come, and things will be said, and we will find out more.
Well, with you studying photographs like that of the moon, what about the craters of the moon where so many, I've read where so many of the craters just should be deeper with the size of the crater, with the type of impact that would hit the moon.
Yeah,
what are your
there is that side that you look at, and again, where people have studied in great detail the moon and saying about the craters and the depth and the meteorite impacts and things like that. And again, there are other people that say that it's man-made. It's a man-made structure. It's a lot older than the Earth. There are a lot of theories out there to the moon itself, but it's one of those weird where it always stays facing the Earth in the same position, rotating the Earth. It's locked within our orbit as we go round it, and it's exactly the same distance from the Earth. So when they have solar eclipses, the sun is directly behind. There's a lot of things related to the moon that is weird. Let's just say it's very weird.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's your opinion about, and you may even have some photos of this, of any type of UFOs coming from like caves, or even, I read about the center of the Earth. There's civilizations under our ground. What's your thoughts and theories on that?
Yeah, well, like I said, I do believe that a base is underground, in caverns and caves, etc. And I've analysed a good piece of footage from the Isetti Ranch again. It was taken at night time of the mountain, Mount Adams, and you can see a craft exiting the mountain at high velocity, and it's probably going up to a couple of thousand miles an hour as it leaves, and it's illuminated as it goes up, and I actually zoom in and you can see that it's come from the mountain itself. Whether it was sat on the mountain and took off from there, I don't know, but it looks like the only way I could put it in a way to explain it to somebody, it looks like a rocket has been fired and it is taking off at high velocity from the ground itself. If any of your listeners can go on my website or to James Gilliland's site, and it's on there, you'll be able to see it for themselves.
Well, the Bible's, I know that I've read the Bible because I went to Sunday school and all that, but what is your opinion on what is described in the Bible about what Ezekiel was seeing in the sky? Could that have been a UFO?
Yeah, I believe, that a lot of the writings within the Bible itself you could quite easily adapt them to ETs. If you go to like Billy Meyer and people like that, Billy Meyer was a Swiss ufologist and experiencer. He's got his early footage of UFOs are really good. And if you can go on in his history, a lot of people say he's faked them and things like that. I wouldn't really want to go down that road, because I do believe his earlier footage is really good. And he actually talks when he's had interactions with the Palladians from the Palladian star system. And he says about, the gods and things like that. And with, a god being of higher spiritual, an ET, who basically an Ishwish, they know the knowledge of everything. They know how everything works. And I do think with religion, I don't want to step on anybody's toes with the religious side. People have their beliefs. I've got mine too. But I do believe there's an awful lot linked with the writings of the Bible and what happened to extraterrestrials and things that probably or might have happened.
Well, have you had any photographs anyone sent you that could possibly be Martian fossils, or do you know of any Martian fossils that may have been found and photographed?
I've studied certain photographs. I've not really gone into the side of analysing them too much because, like I said, I really look at images of UFOs and that type aerial phenomenon and, you know, that type of thing. But I have actually looked at a few of the websites or Facebook pages where they actually look at rock formations and things like that. And there are certainly some unusual formations that are there, and you can see, you know, whether you believe that they are what they are. If it's there'd been a war there many millions of years ago, and it's what is actually left of the civilizations that lived there, whether they were buildings or not. I believe the rovers that are there are actually roving around the Martian surface have actually photographed more than they actually let on to the public. And again, it'll be another thing that will be leaked out, you know, whether there's been life there, and they're actually going to tell us, meaning NASA and that side of it. Who knows?
That's true. Well, if you could meet an alien, what would be the first thing you would, you know, ask it?
Oh, God. I would probably ask to go and see their spaceship.
Can I see your ship? Can I see you ride, man? I want to see you ride.
I would have a million questions to ask. It would be everything from what do you eat, where do you sleep, how long does it take you to get here, can I see your ship, how does your ship work, have you got a family at home? You know, just one thing would lead to another. Yeah,
I'd be stumbling. I probably couldn't even come up with a question. I'd hope it could do telepathy.
Well, yeah, that'll be another worthy question to ask.
Yeah. Well, in your opinion, with what you've studied and researched through all this, all your work and all the years, what do you think is the biggest cover-up in the UFO phenomenon?
Oof. Well, yeah, I would probably say the cover-up of ETs themselves by the government. You know, for many years now, right the way through, where the governments have covered up the existence of UFOs, and then now they're actually starting to say that they've never researched into them, they've never looked into them, they've never had programs to research them, and now they're actually saying they have done. So, you know, what you're meant to believe in that respect. And again, you know, there are people that are having experiences, having sightings and things, you know, similar to that, that know, they know exactly what's going on. They don't need a government to tell them yes or no. So, yeah, it's one of those things.
Well, I agree. I know you touched on crop circles. Have you studied and done any research with crop circles?
Not really. I've been down to Wiltshire in the UK here. That's obviously where we get most of our crop circles here in the UK. We've got a couple of friends down there who live down there. But what I've actually looked into with crop circles, that there are people that are actually, they're man-made, some of them, but there are some that are not. Robert Hulse, he's a good researcher into crop circles. He's done an awful lot of good work into that side of it. And I think really with a crop circle that hasn't been man-made, so we would say it's made by some sort of ET or some sort of extraterrestrial way method. The actual stems, they're called knuckles on the stems, and what Robert has actually found that when they're bent to make the crop circle, the formation itself, the ones that are not being man-made, when they've been broken on the knuckle, or they call them a node as well, they're actually split in such a way that the corn still grows. It's not damaged in any way. So, the people that have gone into real depth, and again, some of the amazing patterns and formations that are made, I can't see how someone could make something so complicated within an hour or two, in a field, especially in the darkness as well.
Mm-hmm. I know, I've seen some of the photographs. I'm like, there's no way that a couple people with a board done that.
No. No, but
well,
again, there are some people that have done that. They have succeeded in falsifying and being a man-made crop circle. So,
well, I can't remember the name of the painting, but there's a painting that Michelangelo painted that has a black triangle in it, and you can see someone looking at a distance in the sky at it. I can't remember the name of it, and I don't know if you know what I'm even talking about. And if you do, have you seen the painting, and what's your opinion about what the black triangle object is in the sky?
I don't know which one you're talking about. I'm trying to figure out. There's quite a few.
I know. There's a few. I think this one might actually be the Mona Lisa.
It might. I'd have to look at that one. I know there are quite a few of the older paintings and depictions where they quite blatantly look like UFOs and craft, or that are in the skies itself. I've actually just come back from a weekend in Milan, and managed to go and see the Last Supper there. So you look at the old depictions, they're obviously trying to tell you something, or tell the public something within. It's their way of a photograph, I suppose.
It's amazing that people like Michelangelo was able to put little mysteries within their paintings. Let's see here. Well, do you think that there's a link between ufology and secret societies?
That's a difficult one, because you could say that they know about the history, the secret histories of what have happened, the Illuminati and that side, and then you've got the powerful families within the world, the Rothschild and the Bilderbergers and all the big families that probably do know what is actually going on or has been going on in the world. I've never really gone down that road. I've watched things related to it. Again, you get people that do look down that road of conspiracies and things like that. Whether you believe them or not, there are some really good documentaries out there that will hold your interest of what they believe has happened or the information they're trying to put forward. But I can't really say I've gone down that road of, the Illuminati or that the secret societies side of it.
Okay. Well, has there ever been anything during your UFO research that has disappointed you?
Yeah, when it always disappoints me when I analyze a photograph of somebody, and it is blatantly either a bird or an aircraft or something else that is explainable. I always try to put in why I believe it is. There was one good example was in the first book. Philip Mantle, who's my publisher, but Philip's been around in ufology for quite a long time, and he's always presenting me with images to analyze and trying to get the bottom of. And this, he came forward with two images that were taken by, it was a civilian Brazilian airline pilot. And he was on holiday in Wiltshire, as we were talking about Wiltshire before. He was on holiday in Wiltshire. And on one of the photographs, all you can see in the distance, it looks like a disc-shaped object. So I thought, analyze that just like I do with every other photograph. I upscaled the photograph, run it through the process of filtering. And when you actually blew the photograph right up into detail, I could see blatantly that it was a Royal Air Force fighter jet, the type that I used to work on, the Tornado. So that was obvious. The second photograph, again, there was a central flagpole in the photograph with the Union Jack on, with the buildings, and that was obviously the focus of the photographs. Either side of this flagpole, you could see two disc-shaped objects on the left and the right. And again, when I blew it up and went in and did the same process, they too were military fighter jets. You could see them. And you can see all the analysed photographs I did in the first book. And to really break the news to the pilot that they were just other aircraft. Again, I didn't really want to do that, but if it is what it is, I will tell people. I mean, I can get it wrong too as well on analysing photographs, but because most pilots are highly trained people, to actually look at their surroundings and to visualise what they see, take in all the detail. But you could only see that these were military aircraft until you'd actually gone through the analysing process.
Well, have you ever gotten a photo wrong by analyzing it?
I'm trying to think now. Not what I can think of off the top of my head, but I'm sure I have done.
It's like, no, I haven't missed one, Rod. What the hell is your problem?
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. But yeah, we're all human, aren't we?
Yep. Yeah. Well, what's your opinion about all these UFO groups, throughout the world? Are they helping or hurting the UFO community and researchers?
No, I think they're all helping. I think everybody is singing from the same song sheet. When you join a UFO group, you want to be part of that group. You want to investigate and look into ufology, or maybe you've had a sighting or an experience and you want to talk with other people that have had the same thing happen to them, or they could help you. I do that all the time with people. You know, I can interact with people, you know, try to help them. And if I don't know it, something that they need to know or, you know, help them with, I can certainly point them in the right direction. You know, I call it the Richard Dreyfuss syndrome, where the character out of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Richard Dreyfuss, the actor, plays, I can't remember his name now, the character in it, and he has the experiences of looking, he has the UFO experience, and then all he wants to do is to find out more information and to dig deeper, and he just goes mad with it, and that's why I call it the Richard Dreyfuss syndrome, where, you know, you go on this road, this journey where you want to know what's happened to you, you want to find out, you know, you want to know if it's an ET or if it was something else. And if you join a group, you're with those sort of people. And I also say when you go to, I go to as many conferences as I can do, you know, obviously work permitting with myself, but when you go, it's changed so much now within, I would say, the last year or two. Is the caliber of person that goes to these conferences now. People that are waking up to what is happening in the world and, you know, the way things are going. And again, they want to know more. They want to find out. They want to listen to speakers that are telling them information. And YouTube is a great thing because an awful lot of documentaries and people giving talks there. So you can find out an awful lot of information, a lot more than you could do a few years back before the internet, where the only way you would ever find anything out was if you went to the library or you bought a magazine or etc. So, yeah, like you say, really, with people joining groups, it's always a good thing, I would say.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. Well, do you train anyone to do the type of research that you do, or you're just solo on your own doing this?
I contribute on literally hundreds of other sites, and when I do a post, I try to get it out there for people to see. I think there's probably about 25,000 people following me on my UF only page. But it's just me. It's just me on me lonesome that have. I'll analyze the photographs. I'll post. I've started making documentaries now, so I try to put those out on my YouTube channel. And again, I'm working with other publishers and other authors, analysing photographs for their books and things like that. So I'm always doing something within the field, or I'm always helping somebody. And I'm also going to be having my first public talk this year in November at Lapis Conference in Blackpool in the UK. So I've been getting my presentation ready for that as well. So hopefully that'll go down well.
That's great. Because I know the first time I spoke, I was so scared, nervous that one of the girls that went with me, she was sitting there making faces, and I'm like, "You're not helping me."
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so it did. It brought the house up, right?
Yeah. Well, mine's a lot of not an awful lot of speaking. It's going to be more images and video analysis, so people will actually see a lot of things they've never seen before, and sightings of ETs and things like that. So hopefully it'll be good for them.
Awesome. Well, Jason, I know it's really early there in the morning, and I'm gonna cut this a little early, so maybe give you a little nap for whatever you gotta do. But I got a couple more questions. One is, what are your plans for the rest of 2019? Any projects that you can discuss, and also, go ahead and mention your website and how to get your books and your YouTube channel. Any information you want to put out there, or anything that I missed, or anything that you want to cover that I didn't ask. The floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, well, thanks. Well, the two books I've had published, the first book, UFO Photo, which is computer analysis of worldwide UFO images through the decades, and the second book, which is following on really from that, which is the Ufology umbrella, Close Encounters Are Not Enough. And you can get both books on Amazon and through Flying Disc Press through Philip Mantle. I'll be giving, like I said just then, my first talk at Lapis conference in Blackpool in the UK in November. So I hope you can attend that if you're in the UK or whatever. And I'll always, if people need help with anything through analysing images or photographs, or they just need some information or some guidance, they can contact me through my web page and Facebook page, UFO Only. It's on Facebook, Google, and Twitter. And if they want to watch any of the videos I've actually analysed and put on my YouTube channel, again, it's all there free for everybody to look at.
Are you still there?
Yeah, still here.
Okay. Well, you said look up, and I'm like, did I miss something?
No, it's pretty much most things, It's basically if somebody needs help with an image of something that they've, had in their personal photos, and they've for years they've thought, oh, I wonder what that is, or I can have a look for them. I don't charge anybody to do any of this. I never have done, because I believe that everybody should be on the same playing field, where whether you've got money or you haven't got money, if you want help with something to be analysed, I'm happy to help if I can help. And like I said, if I can't help, I can certainly put people in the right direction, because I know pretty much most people in ufology now. So
that sounds great. Well, Jason, I appreciate you, coming on the show. I appreciate you, getting up so early to come on the show, and appreciate everything you're doing. Anytime you want to come back, door's always open. But beyond that, again, thank you so much for coming on the show, and have a good rest of the day and a great weekend.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's been my pleasure. I've enjoyed the show tonight.
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed it. I've learned a lot, especially about the photography part of it. I mean, I've had so many different people on about UFOs, and to learn different areas and aspects of the research is always fascinating. Sometimes I'm kind of left with like, I don't know what to ask now.
Yeah.
Because,
I get like that myself too.
So, and I mean, I'm sitting here, I've got notes. I mean, I'm one of these people, I take notes. And I'm sitting here going through my notes going, I think he's covered everything. Damn, now what I ask?
Yeah. I get that too, yeah.
But again, sir, I do. It was a great show, and I do appreciate you coming on. And like I said, you get another book, or you anything you want to talk about, or some kind of picture or something that you're like, hey, let me holler at Rod. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, I certainly will do. I'm sure I've got more books to come.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure you do, too. Good thing. It's a good thing. Well, sir, you have a great night. And again, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks again.
Okay, have a good night or day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, I want to thank Jason Gleaves for coming on the show. Hey, I got nothing but respect for the job he's doing, especially looking at photos and all these different types of videos and stuff. It's got to be amazing to see some of the stuff he's seen. But like I said, I welcome him back anytime. Doors always open. Our guest for next Thursday night, October 17th, he's the head writer and editor of the Singular 14 Society, and he's a paranormal investigator. Tibius Whalen. And if I messed up your first name, I apologize. But again, that's it for me. That's it for us. Everybody have a great night and great day for the ones that are listening in the UK. And everybody have a great weekend. Come on. It's fall. Getting ready to run into the holidays. We got Halloween coming up and Thanksgiving and Christmas. Let's try to find some love and compassion and humanity that seems like we've been lacking here in the past few years. But again, thank you all. Y'all have a good night. And where do I find the end of the show? There it is. That's it for us tonight. I want to thank everyone that took the time to listen in. I'd like to give a big shout out to the Vibe Radio Network and to Ryan for putting up with us. Also to all the first responders and our men and women in the armed services. Thank you for your service and the sacrifices that you and your families make every day to keep our great nation safe. Tune in next week to another exciting show starting at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Everyone can go to our Facebook page Within the Chaos, and don't forget to like our page to see upcoming guests along with past shows, postings, or you can also go to my website at www.blackdiamondps.org or blogtalkradio.com/Vibe Radio Network. Also, we have a YouTube channel, so go to YouTube, look up Within the Chaos for past shows. Thanks again. Until next week, everyone have a safe weekend and have a good night. And love you all. Be careful out there.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world, there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent, and all will be lost. The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world, millions of despairing men, women, and little children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men, machine men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are not cattle, you are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world, that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite!